Tracking down Matilda Reed's son wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought it would be. I spent my last few remaining hours before the show running between different hospitals in Augustus, using what little money I had to grease as many palms as needed to. Until a mere hour before Act 2 was to begin, before Emma Livery was going to be burned alive for an audience's pleasure. I had a name. Alexei. His father's name had been left blank on the birth certificate, and it looked like he had taken his mother's last name, Alexei Reed. He's 17 years old, and according to Arden, still somewhere in the city. Even with this small victory, things weren't looking good for me, which meant they weren't looking good for Emma either. But then, I saw him. Unlike his mother, Alexei was on social media. Pictures of him at a restaurant for his birthday, at the park with his friends. All the photos had stopped about 3 years ago. The photo was made with the name Alex, but I was sure it was him, even though he was a bit younger than when I last saw him. And suddenly, quite a few things made sense. I arrived once again in that dusty mystery street, hidden in downtown Augustus. I got out of my cab, and once my driver sped away, felt the familiar eerie silence settle over me. It was completely empty, and a thick fog settled down on the cobblestone, just like it had the night before. The entrance to Masiliano's theater, camouflaged as a decrepit old shack, lay straight ahead. The glass barrier that separated me from what I now knew to be the truth glinted yellow in the muted glow of the street lamps. "Told you you'd be back." A young man stood behind the reflective surface, still wearing the same maroon vest, still smiling his casual customer service smile. I approached the barrier, my Night 2 ticket clutched hard in my sweaty hand. Even if this worked, even if he was who I thought he was, would it do any good? At this point, it didn't matter. I was either going to succeed or I was going to fail. There was no turning back. "You Alexei Reed?" The boy's smile faltered for a millisecond before it resumed. He pointed with a steady hand to something on his vest. Something I hadn't seen before. A name tag. It read, Matthew. Shining gold letters. "It's Matthew. It's actually Matthew," he said politely. We stood in silence. Then he cleared his throat awkwardly. "Ticket, please." I hesitated. My time was up. It was now or never. "Matilda Reed. She's your mother. The 32nd Farfalla, the reporter." The boy only shook his head. "Sorry, sir, I'm not who you think I am." Then he motioned a bit more forcefully to the opening at the bottom of the glass. "I'll need to see your ticket now if you want to get a good seat." I frowned. It didn't make any sense. Only because it had made so much sense. He had to be Alexei. What other outsider to the ballet company would have such close access to tickets to such an exclusive show? I mean, who else would know how to replace the Act 2 ticket when I had thrown it away? His motivation, admittedly, I hadn't quite worked out. What exactly was he trying to do? Save another girl from the same fate that almost befell his mother? Or had Matilda been the one who had put him up to it in the first place, using her son to finish the new story, the one she'd started even before he was born? Or maybe, judging by the way the kid looked at me, he was just another 17-year-old kid who happened to look like someone I was frantically trying to find. My cheeks reddened with embarrassment and frustration. "Sorry," I mumbled apologetically. I slid him my ticket under the glass. He took it, and smiled assuredly at me. "Enjoy the show," he said kindly, just as he had the previous night. At this point, dread racked my body and my mind. And here I was, once again ready to spin down into the belly of the beast, completely and utterly empty-handed. I gave one last look at the boy, Matthew, like I was giving him a chance to change his mind. He only smiled. I stood in front of the door, a sick feeling down in the pit of my stomach. I could open it, go down the stairs, take my seat next to the girl with a goldfish ring. I could listen to her, and the other affluent, cruel members of the crowd, as they cooed with delight as they got their money's worth. As human beings were taken apart piece by piece before their very eyes. I mean, whatever faith some stranger had put in me had been misguided. That much was for sure, and again, I felt angry. Angry at someone for putting this on me, for making me see things I couldn't unsee, and for cursing me with the knowledge that it was only going to get worse. I pulled open the door, but I still didn't take a step inside. Instead, I wondered what would happen if I just turned around right then, washed my hands of all this monstrous thing I'd never asked for. Truthfully, I almost did it. Then I thought of Emma. Those brief moments of fear and uncertainty I had seen play out in her face. I straightened up. I still didn't know what I was going to do, if I was going to do anything. But I had to at least try. I stepped into the shrouded entryway, the staircase straight ahead. I took 2 steps forward, still riddled with anxiety, when suddenly I was pulled hard by my left arm through a door I didn't know was there. "Are you an idiot?" I looked around, disoriented. Not that looking around helped. It was a small room the size of a bathroom, and it had absolutely nothing in it. The walls were flat black. The floor and ceiling were the same. It had this strange, oppressive feeling, the same claustrophobia I feel when I think of outer space or an underwater trench. Except a beam of light. There was a door in the black, besides the one on the side that I had been pulled through. The door emitting light led out to the outside. It looked like to the front of the building, except there was a glare. And I recognized the reflection of city street lamps on glass. The door led to the ticket desk. I looked up. The boy was looking at me, apparently slightly angry, and very worried. My eyes widened, even in the half-darkness. He looked like the headshot of his mother I had seen. "You are Alexei Reed. Keep your voice down," he said tersely. Then he moved and closed the door that I had been pulled through, before doing the same with the door to the ticket desk. For a moment, I could see nothing, and all I heard was my own quickened breath. Then a small light overhead was flipped on, and Alexei Reed was looking at me. And he had something in his hand, something I would recognize anywhere. It was a few clippings from the paper I write for, the Habitsville Gazette. Though it was clear to see that he only cut bits out from my column, Bad Habit. I saw clippings of my stories about the Habitsville Hermit, Tom McAfee, and a few I wrote a few years back. I looked at the boy. "What's this?" "I've been watching you, Sam," he said quietly. And it didn't scare me like I thought a statement like that should. He sounded so matter-of-fact. "You write about things that are strange, things that betray logic, things that other people aren't usually allowed to see. Like my mother." I felt a wave of understanding. "You're the one who left me the envelope, the tickets, everything." He nodded. "I need your help." Then he corrected himself. My family needs your help." I blinked in surprise. "Who, Matilda?" "No, not my mom," he said impatiently with a wave of his hand. "She's in hiding. I haven't seen her in years." He stepped closer to me, his face sinking further and further into desperation. I could see his eyes glisten with tears. "My sister. They're gonna kill her." I tried to contain my shock. Emma Livery. His sister. I mean, surely she wasn't Matilda's daughter. The timing didn't match up right. Emma's birth year had been 2001 under her picture on the ballet website, and Matilda was training heavily for her role as Farfalla at the time. But then I remembered. The blank name on Alexei's birth certificate. There was no father listed, meaning that the two could be the half-siblings. "It's not her fault," he continued, his voice shaking with emotion. "She doesn't know what she's doing, I promise you. And And they'll kill her. They'll really kill her if they find out what she's planning. I was distracted by what felt like a rush of hope. The show was about to start, but with at least one ally, we could do something. Storm the stage, pull a fire alarm, something. Despite the stress I was under, I smiled with relief. Okay, Alexi, we'll save Emma. Alexi blinked. He took a small step back and cocked his head to the side in confusion. Emma's not my sister, he said blankly. It was my turn to look confused. Oh? It's Franziska. My mind reeled. Franziska Wilde? The disfigured girl in the wheelchair with one arm, stumps for wings. The Farfalla that came before Emma. The damage has already been done to her. What danger could she possibly be in? Then Alexi took a step closer to me, two of us nearly nose to nose in the black room, the room so small that it could go from feeling like a refuge to feeling like a trap in an instant. His wide eyes had refilled with tears, and I watched as one burst over the edge and began to roll down his cheek. What he whispered next tightened my chest and made something icy trickle down my spine. He took a shuddery breath. She's gonna ruin the show. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I want to tell you thank you so much for listening to tonight's story. I also want to remind you that it is cold. I guess you probably already know that. But it is cold out there, everybody, and if you guys are looking for a way to warm up, you can always check out my wife's tea shop. That's etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocletea. She sells different kinds of teas based on Dungeons & Dragons, and creepypastas, and Airbender, and everything else. So, if you want to have a great way to warm up this holiday season, then hey, there you go. I also want to give a very big thank you shout out to all of you guys out there on Patreon. If you guys want to check out patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta, you're able to support the show, support me, support my cats, support, being cool folks out there like people like these. Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Mr. Thud, Ken Lando Higuchi, Chompski, Bobby Karman, Nico Kaeo, Tristain Pelton, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, Raven Hart, 1-800-Nightmare, King Hades F13, Unknown Nobody, Joshua Mcmeekin, Michael Scharbrough, Kazan, ThisIsMyRealNameNoShit, Jason VB Wilson, InfernalOne, Lilwulfgaming, JimboTheHutt, Caspian, Jordan Nells, Hades' nephew, Jordan Wayne Deckard, Bradley Leipe, and Charron, Acid System, Mike Bullock, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Brian Arse, Cryptic Nightmares, Brianna Wright, Someone You Love, S-Man, Kiri the Sloth, Thomas Burgett, Liam Newman, Sky Harbor, Caleb Dougal, Nina Smith, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, and Corey Kenshin. Thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon. I really can't thank you enough. And everybody who's down there in the description, thank you guys so much as well. And everybody who's not on either of those tiers, who just have $1 on Patreon, I can't thank you guys, for making these past 10 years incredible. This entire time I've ever spent on YouTube, on podcasting, everything amazing. And all of you who are at home listening, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful, happy holidays and sweet dreams.